Just a Job is the podcast for the modern woman to redefine what success looks like. We highlight real women and their real stories.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Just a Job. Today, before we jump into Charis's episode, as promised last week, gosh, that feels like forever ago, we mentioned that we were going to talk a little bit about action items, positives, to come out of what has felt like the last year, aka the last 14 days. Before we jump into that, Ellen, you mentioned that you had a few other items, so maybe we kick off with those?
Something fun and interesting.
Please.
So on my social media perusing, which I regularly do, I found an interesting article that many career influencers, professional influencers have been talking about. And it's this concept called revenge quitting. And first of all, revenge quitting means it's flipping layoffs on its head. So it's an employee quitting in a very abrupt, sometimes very dramatic way of like, I quit, today is my last day, peace out of here, and doing it in like a maybe not the most professional way. And it's a new work trend on the rise, and apparently 28% of employees will be expecting it at work in 2025, which I'm like, I don't necessarily know and understand that means. This is according to Forbes. So I sat and thought about it for a minute, and I was going to ask you, what is, like, if you were in a situation where you were like, I hate my job and I need to quit, and you were considering doing this like revenge quitting, how would you do it? Would you like march into your boss's office and be like, expletive, flip him off, I'm out of here, see you later? Like, how would you do it?
I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I think maybe I don't see myself ever doing that. I would want to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It would take a lot for me to have that type of reaction, like either a threat to myself, a threat to someone else. So I'll set the stage there. I don't see a world in which I would do this. There have been situations where I wish that I could just be like, I'm done, and I'm marching into his office. Trust me. Gosh, it's kind of fun to play pretend. I know
it was interesting. Like some
scratch
of
the angry bone in your body.
Yeah. Like some of the either videos that I saw or like reviews that people or comments like on videos that people were saying, it was like, oh, it's this like movie moment that you've always dreamed of doing, like in your face, stick it to the man, like goodbye, see you later. It was kind of funny.
Wait, maybe I'm like the person in a breakup where it's more powerful to just walk away gracefully, not say anything, and just be done. So I think if that was what I was to do in the breakup of my job, I think I would quite literally just close my laptop and I would walk to HR and say, I'm done, and gracefully exit the building, because I love in a breakup scene when it's not this like big emotional reaction. It's just like, I don't even have the time or energy for you anymore. I'm done. And it's like, whoa.
Ooh, yeah.
I think that's what I would do.
What about you? Then it would be like, oh shit. Like, how are we going to get these answers from Sarah?
Like a silent killer.
Yeah, silent killer.
I take the silent killer approach. Ellen, you?
You're much better than I am, because I would 100%. There would be a lot of swear words. There would probably be middle fingers. Like I would probably go to the nth degree, which I would have to plan very carefully, because it would need to be a scenario in which I was comfortable burning the bridge, which I don't think that would happen. But like in a cool movie moment, like that would be epic. But in reality, would I ever do that? No. There's no way. So okay, that was
play
fun.
pretend. That's funny.
Yes,
I like it.
It's just interesting to hear like workplace trends, and you know how they like the return to office mandates and blah blah blah. And this one is benefiting, I guess.
Yeah.
Slightly.
So I'm curious about the stat. What's the stat entail?
It's 28% of employees expect to see revenge quitting at work in 2025.
I mean, I like taking back the power.
Yeah, it's like taking the layoffs and flipping it on its head of, you won't get loyal, you won't provide us loyalty, I will not provide loyalty back to you. Interesting.
Ooh, okay.
So that was my fun, strange article that I wanted to share.
I love
Before we jump into sharing some resources and such, I have a quote that I very much resonate with that I think is a very good way to kick this next section off. And it is, my desire to be well informed is at odds with my desire to remain sane. And this is from, I'm sure like someone very wonderful said this quote. I am unsure who exactly said it. It's literally like a screenshot from one of those inspirational like poem things that you see on
Pull up
Instagram.
from
So
Pinterest. Yeah.
yeah, that's my source. But I feel like it so eloquently spoke to like what we talked about when you and I, like just the two of us just like unloaded of all the
Mm-hmm.
things that we're feeling. So um, to say that this has been the longest 14, what did you say, 14 days? I'm
I
like,
think it's
I
been
don't even know
14.
how
Yeah.
long it's been. Oh my God.
15.
To say
Yeah.
that this has been a stressful and depressing time is like just scratching the surface, but also like, again, the purpose of us sharing this is to like commiserate in a way, but also uplift because you can be as informed as humanly possible, but then again, like to go back to that quote, to at the risk of your own sanity. So keep that in mind as we talk about these things, and again, hopefully some good comes out of that, and that's the message in which we're going forward with.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the internal struggle with anything nowadays. We have all types of media available at our fingertips, and consuming becomes so natural. Like it's
Mhm.
just common behavior to constantly consume. And I think we've lost the filter of being able to disassociate to some
Yeah,
degree because so much of this will have an impact on our life. It's not just observing somebody in a pretty outfit and wishing we had an outfit. No, it's like learning about these decisions that will in turn change the way that we live and operate.
100%.
Um, so I appreciate that quote.
Of course.
In terms of what we want to share, I have just two quick ones so I can jump into those.
Go for it.
So this was littered all over. I'm sure every woman who listens to this and follows this platform saw it, but it was littered all over my LinkedIn. And it was the Skims decision after the decision was made to essentially shut down any sort of health network news website that the government provides, specifically for women's healthcare, overall women's healthcare. And the Skim, the two CEOs of the Skim, a female run company, which if you don't follow them already, you should. There's a lot of really well female run companies that we just need to include. But
Mm.
the Skim specifically, the government website was, oh, I forget the name of it, but it was women's, it was like, let's just call it
Yeah, I'll see if I can
healthcare.gov.
look it up real quick.
Yeah, .gov. The Skim owners basically hijacked the URL, and instead of putting a period, they wrote out the word .dot.gov. And I was like, that is savage. Continue to filter out all of the information that was once on this live page, which is now, I haven't checked recently, but it was as of 2 weeks ago, leading to a 404 error page.
Mhm.
So 50% of the population no longer had access to health information that impacts their daily life. And the Skim said, fuck that. And they built their own page. And the owners, in a very casual, organic way, got on social media and talked about why they did it and building it and will continue to be a resource for women. And I was like, damn,
That is,
like,
yeah,
I hate that they had to derail everything that they were already working on to provide a government access website that should just exist because it's a government access website. But
mhm.
I think it's
It's
incredible
like
and I want to see more of that. But I
power
don't.
move.
Yeah.
And it's reproductive. Oh, hang on. It was up on the reel and then it flashed away. So I got to scroll and say
Oh,
it really quickly. Reproductiverights.gov.
thank
And
you.
again, like Sarah said, they bought the URL and have been updating it and putting additional information that is no longer there back up for people to be able to go to and access. So
Put in the
snaps
work.
for them. Mhm.
Yes. So on top of what the Skim provided, the other positive, I'm trying to limit my social media just because, again, it's very difficult for me to disassociate. I like crawl into a black hole and I'm like, "Eh," at the end of the day. And I'm like, why did this happen? So I saw a reel that I was like, oh, come on, this is exactly what I needed. So it was a reel from creator Jessica Ashford. We'll include it in the show notes. But after DEI, the whole decision about DEI was announced, she made a post about, it was like 4 or 5 female run Black business owners that opened up businesses in the Detroit area. And I was like, thank you. I needed that. Like, just because these decisions were made doesn't mean that life continues or life stops, right? Life continues. These things will just come, I feel like, with greater impact, greater weight. And so it was really
Mhm.
refreshing to see that, because she was just like, these are all kind of a big old middle finger to this decision that was made. So we'll include it in the show
100%.
notes, but it was a light of
Yes.
my day.
Well, and there's so much like fear mongering going on that just like a little bit of positivity for that, I don't want to say that goes against, but like supports what people are looking for in a time like this
Mhm.
is like, there's still some good left in the world and people are still being active and, doing good on topics like rolling back DEI, for example.
Right. Right.
Um, Thank you for those, Sarah. I've got a couple of, I'll say, random things. I have 2 articles in particular that I found to be really helpful and interesting. The first one is by this woman named Sharon McMahon, which recommend you go check out her Instagram. She's a book. She's very well spoken and very well educated on any of the like. Where's Sarah? What are the things that Trump has been signing? I'm literally having a brain fart that he's been executive orders. Okay,
Oh,
there we go.
yeah.
There we go. I found it. She's been very knowledgeable on the any of the executive orders that have been coming out and kind of breaking them down. And she wrote an article called "Why Does Elon Musk Have So Much Power?" And it just kind of breaks down like the psychology behind it and helps like it helped me gain a level of understanding of um like in within social media and then like propaganda and headlines around him and how it's come to be. So just more of like a knowledge gaining perspective. I enjoyed that. And then another article that Jordan actually shared with me is from the New York Times and it's called Don't Believe Him. And again, it goes into like the psychology of the rollout of the executive orders that Trump has been issuing. And again, it talks about how tactically something like the executive orders would actually be put into law and how unlikely some of them are. So again,
Mm.
it's the psychology behind it helped me gain a level of understanding and a better peace of mind around everything. So thank you, Jordan, for that. Some other kind of random things. There's a podcast called Money with Katie. She actually went to Alabama, funny enough. We should get her on the podcast.
Please.
But she's like a financial influencer. And her podcast specifically focuses about like ways in which you can increase your knowledge on investing, how to set up your 401k, etc. And she's been talking about a lot recently about how some of the executive orders would impact the economy. So again, it's helpful to learn and understand what those impacts would be. And then she has recommendations for if you're worried about this, or this, here's some things that you could do to be proactive. So that's good to it's helpful knowledge, but then also she gives examples of things that you could go do, which I can always appreciate an action item. A what's it called? I'm having a really hard time with my words today. A profile that I really like following is called so.informed on Instagram, just helpful
Mm. Hmm.
information. And then a couple of things that I want to be doing, and I think if someone is looking for like true action items to go do, is supporting local businesses, calling your local representatives, and then what we're doing is talking about this. I think like after you and I had that first just brain dump
Hmm.
and like word vomit, it was so helpful to be able to just talk about it with a friend, whether it's a family member, a friend, a significant other, whomever it may be. Find someone that you can talk to about these things with and just decompress because I feel like the only advice I can give is to like, just do mental check-ins and be like, hey, whoa, I need to go touch some grass. I need to go for a
Hmm.
walk or talk to someone or read a book or whatever it may be. So just give yourself some grace and recognize when you're really stressed or anxious about things and go do something positive to combat that. That's my therapist coming out.
That was a lot. Thank you, Ellen, for
That was a good
compiling all
ramble.
for compiling all of that. Well, no, it's helpful because I think the first layer of not calming your mind, it's just wrapping your mind around it, understanding, and the tough work is the education because you have to
Yeah.
understand like how did we get here? And
Mhm.
then also understanding how would these decisions impact me. And I'm definitely going to go read the article because half the time it feels like these decisions are made and they're going to go into effect tomorrow. And
Right.
there are checks and balances, but it just feels really heavy.
Yeah.
Alongside, shopping local businesses, I think that's huge. Your money has so much weight, whether you
Mhm.
realize it or not. And that's something we talked about that in our goals. That's something that I'm trying to work with or work on. But I think it's an additional layer of also just trying to understand like where your boundaries are at, specifically like in conversations, because
Mhm.
it's difficult when people don't necessarily align with your views to have those conversations. But half of that education too is trying to understand other people's perspectives. And I feel like if you
Totally.
continue to just like feed into the narrative of a one-sided perspective, it will not benefit you.
It is uncomfortable. Even like
Mhm.
just even the decision that we made to be like, oh, we're going to talk about it on the podcast is like, that's scary, you know?
Mhm.
Like, it's one thing to have like a FaceTime with a friend and have a
Yeah. Yeah.
conversation, but in more of a public forum and like, it's uncomfortable. But I think it's really, really important. And to your point of, I feel like some days I am ready to step up to the plate and have those difficult conversations and, ready to go to bat and come to the table with with my notepad in hand. And other days I'm like, absolutely not. I will refuse to have that conversation with someone or talk about it at all or
Mhm.
look at my phone. So
Mhm.
there's absolutely a roller coaster that goes along with it. But at least we're trying, and
Yeah.
I'm proud of us for at least like taking that step.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mhm.
the dialogue doesn't stop here, right?
Right.
It's been 15, 16 days as we identified. Things will continue
Oh
to
God.
change. This level of uncomfort, or I don't even want to say helplessness, but like this will not go away. So I encourage you, me, us, everyone listening, continue to have the conversations. And maybe we'll just gain a different skill set, flex some different muscles that we wouldn't have otherwise. So there
Exactly.
are silver linings to some degree. They do
Mhm.
exist.
I was
But our
gonna say
DMs are
it.
always open because I think that
Oh,
we
yeah.
want to make sure it's not just us talking to you. So,
Mhm.
as mentioned last week, if there's any articles, social accounts, any specific person, blog posts, anything out there that you have found peace by engaging with, please let us know because we want to share that.
That's very well said. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's a conversation that we'll continue to have as things surface, but we are going to head into Charis's episode. Love when a connection turns into a podcast, turns into a friend. And that's exactly this situation. But Ellen, before we jump into it, any parting thoughts?
Thanks for having the convo with me. It's
Thank you.
uncomfortable, but if anything, maybe they will get easier as we continue to have them. So that's again a
Mhm.
positive and a silver lining. Go touch some grass and go follow Charis. She is so impressive. She's about to turn 22 years old. So just her story is incredible. So I hope everybody really enjoys it, but make sure you go check her out because I need to take a page out of her social media book. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And her energy,
Yes.
dedication, grit, all of it. You'll have a lot of
Hmm.
learning lessons.
Very
But
impressive.
everybody, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the episode. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Today we have Charis with us. She is the studio owner of Terrare Design, a brand and Shopify design studio. She works with e commerce, creator, and B2B brands that prioritize community building. A big win for her in 2024 was the launch of the Sunday Charis rebrand and website build, which we'll hear about in a little bit. If you're trying to reach chronically online Gen Z, women of color, first generation American who is culturally diverse with firsthand experience from living on 3 different continents, then Charis is your gal. She is also somebody that loves girlhood and fashion and is always sustainably conscious. Welcome to the podcast, Charis. Thanks for
Thank you
coming.
guys for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This has been a long time coming. We are so excited. We met Charis, of course, at oh my gosh,
Female founder
Female
world.
Founder World. My brain was moving. My brain was like a little. This is the 3-day weekend coming back. We met at Female Founder World. We were sitting down waiting for a presentation, and I think Alan had gotten up. I just turned around, and Charis and I just started talking, and then we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great! So many connections." And we've been online friends ever since. And Charis has an incredible story. We've been able to watch just in the past 3 months of knowing her, her brand build and her online community build. So we are so, so happy to hear everything that's going on in your world, what led you here, and what your plans are for 2025. So, initial question for you. When you were growing up, what did you want to be?
I wanted to be an actress. That was the big goal when I was younger. I did dance for like 10 years when I was younger. So like baby ballet all the way up until maybe when I was 12 or 13. And then I stopped because I didn't like it anymore. But then I wanted to be an actress for a really long time. And fun story, I will get into this for sure, but I used to live in South Africa, and this company that was like representing Disney, I don't really know all the details because I was like 11 at the time, but this weird company that was representing, they had like hired young kids and went to do this like training thing, and they put you on like Disney shows. They came, and so I was like, I want to be an actress. So I went to the audition, and the process was you go to the audition, you get a call back, and if you get a call back, you go to like this training camp, and from there they put you on these different shows. And so I went, and I got a call back, and they were like, we want to take you to go do this thing so that you can become like this Disney kid. And my mom was like, no. She like took me to the auditions and stuff. And I don't think she thought, like, she'd never seen me act or anything. So I don't think she thought that I'd make it. I think she was just like, oh, like, let me support my child. And then when they were like, no, we want to like bring you to America and take you, my mom was like, no, she's finishing school. And I was like, oh, that was really sad, but okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so, that was the last time I auditioned for anything.
So you grew up in South Africa?
Yeah, so I was born in the States. Okay. But my family is from the UK, so we kind of were back and forth for a while, and then we moved to South Africa when I was like 5 going on 6, and I was there until I was 15 going on 16, so a full decade. So that's where I spent most of my childhood.
Oh, that's so interesting. Sarah and I talk a lot about like how, especially like culturally in any other country, and how that affects work and how people view work and what their priorities around work are. So I'm interested to hear how your family and your heritage and your experiences growing up like led you to what your perception about work is. So hold on to that for later in your interview. But when did you start, like maybe post dance or after this audition that you had referenced, was there maybe an experience or something that led you to look at a different career path that was potentially more interesting to you?
Yeah, I think it was, okay, so after all of that, I knew I wanted to start my own business. I was kind of off the acting thing, and I was like, I want to start my own business. I think I always knew that I always wanted like time freedom. Like I always wanted to be able to like kind of do what I want, which is funny because I work a 9 to 5 now, but it's okay, we're working on it. But I always want to start a business. So when I was younger, I don't know, I guess like you're young, you're a girl, so you're like, oh, I'll start skincare or makeup or clothes, things like that. And then, but I was really young. And then I went to college. I started college when I was 15. So I was real young. And I went through school and I did all my years. And while I was in school, I studied business. And I was kind of like, do I still want to start a business? I don't know. No. And then after I graduated, I was 19. and I worked at my 9 to 5, and I came home and I would like twiddle my thumbs. Like I was like, this is nothing to do. Like because when you're at school, it's like, oh, you have homework after you go to your classes. But when you come home at 4 or 5, it's like, I just watch Netflix all day. And that lasted for like a good year. And then I was like, okay, this cannot be like my life. Like, this is not, like, young Charis would not approve at all. And so after that, I was like, like, what are some cool things I could do? And while I was in college, so backtracking a bit, when I was in college, I did like a little UX, like user experience design project. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And so I found out that Google does like a like user experience type of mini course or whatever. And so I was doing that for a while. I was like, oh, maybe I'll get into that. And it was through that that I found brand and web design. And that's how I was like, okay, this is it. This is the business I want to start. This is the way I want to go. So it's kind of a bit of it was a lot of just me being like, oh, like, why not? Like, let me just try and like see where it leads. And this is where it leads.
Ooh, I love that. And I love the term time freedom, which we can, kind of tap into, because I think a lot of people, when they start businesses, they're seeking time freedom, but they know they have to grind it out for a few years or however long until they can achieve that. Because in most cases, people are working their 9 to 5, but then they also are doing something on the side, which in your case, like
Right.
doing the
I
courses, and then also to like building a business before you even have clients. And like, you're very much sitting in this just constant state of work, but the ultimate goal is time freedom. Taking it back to school, we talk a lot about transitions and navigating. How in the world did you navigate the university setting at 15 years old? Like, looking back on it now, are you like, oh my gosh, I was just wise beyond my years? Or like, really, like, how was that for you? Because I'm imagining myself at 15 walking around the streets of campus. I would be so lost.
No. So, okay, so what had happened was I started school early. My mom put me in school like when I was like 1.5, like early. And so I've always been like 2 to 3 years younger, like always been with older kids all throughout school. So when I got to college, I was kind of like, well, I mean, everyone's always been 2 to 3 years older than me, anyways. And I was really, like, truly, really, really, really blessed to get a roommate, because I also came in January, which in the US, school years start in August, but in SA, we start them in January. So I came in January. So it was kind of like second semester freshman year. So everyone already had like their friends and their groups. And I was like, well, but I was really lucky that I ended up being roommates with a girl who didn't have a roommate, and she was older than me. She was 19, but me and her, that's my bestie for life. Like, she's still my bestie now. I just latched onto her and just did not let go. And yeah, that's truly how I survived, and I made friends. I just don't think I ever thought of myself as like, oh, I'm younger, so like it makes me different or weird. I was kind of like, well, I'm just here to get my degree and go, like everyone else is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Good for you. That is like remarkable. I mean, it's so interesting hearing, I mean, just what are we, like 10 minutes in, if that, and hearing your experience about how you always had this calling to have your own business, and it's like you're very, very sure of yourself, and being so young and having that quality is like, I'm jealous. Like, good for you. That's incredibly I mean, it's really something I think you should be proud of. And it sounds like you've really leaned into throughout your career now. And I want to talk a little bit. You mentioned how, you're in school and you have homework, and you have a very, very structured routine, and you go to class, you come home, you do your homework, eat, go to sleep, and it's rinse, repeat. And when you go into the working world, that is no longer the case. There's the structure of the 9 to 5, but you're kind of thrown into this really unique experience without really any sort of heads up or preparation or guidance. So what was that like for you in terms of changing from the college life to now the corporate life?
Oh, it was, for a while it was great. I feel like when you're fresh, because I started working 2 days after I graduated. Like I did not take a break at all.
Wow.
The only reason I did that is because I got an apartment, and so I was like, I have bills to pay, and I have no way to pay them.
Sure.
So I was like, I need a job. And so for a while it was great because it's like, the first couple months, like, oh, I don't have homework. As soon as I'm done, I just go home and nobody's calling me. I don't have anything to do. This is fantastic. And then after a while, you're like, I have no friends like next door like I used to. And, there's no basketball games to go to anymore. And there's no entertainment like provided for you. It's like you have to you have to go entertain yourself basically. And it's like it's not super healthy to just sit at your house and watch Netflix all day long. And so I'm lucky because a lot of my friends, we all graduated together. We all kind of stayed in the same kind of area post grad for a little bit. And so we'd be like, okay, like let's try to get together here and get together there and do this and do that and let's try new things. And then I kind of after a while, I kind of dove into the courses and stuff like that. So really, it was just like, I knew I needed to try to keep myself busy. And I feel like that's the biggest thing. It's just like with all that downtime, like you just have to try to keep yourself busy or else it's not gonna go well. Like, at least for me, it wouldn't go well.
Yeah. I know the feeling of that initial, like, this is so fun. I just graduated. I have money. I can do whatever I want. And then it's not fun. It's not fun at all. And especially too, depending on the timing of when you graduate, watching other people go back to school and realizing that come Monday, I'm going to work. I'm not going to a party on Monday night or a basketball game on Tuesday evening. And it's just like, oh, this is it. This is the new season of life. And then also too, the gut punch of like, this is how it's going to be forever. Like this isn't just a season unless I change it. And I think that's one of the unspoken things about adults. This is something that I'm currently working through, is like change doesn't just happen to you anymore. You have to make change happen, which is really difficult because then that means you have to be proactive instead of reactive. Which is never a fun place to be in, but also too, there's power in that. So I love that you were able to take control and pursue the courses. Take us a little bit through, I know that like there's a lot of different platforms like Coursera and Google courses. What were your initial thoughts of like taking the Google course? Did it reflect school? Did you kind of do a self-paced program? What was that experience like on top of your 9 to 5?
It was self-paced. It was on Coursera. I think that's where they host their courses and stuff. And it was self-paced, and like you pay like each month that you're still in it. So like it takes as long as you want it to take, and you just keep paying for it. It was nice. I think it gave me the biggest thing that it gave me was like ambition again, because I was a very like I wouldn't say I was a super. I was very studious. Maybe that's a better word. I was a very studious like child and a very studious college kid. So I would study and I get grades and things like that. So it was nice to have something to study again. And even now, I mean, I've taken so many different courses now that I've launched my business on marketing and social media and things like that, and getting to write stuff down again in a notebook and like study, I feel like has brought back some of that initial like thing that I liked to do when I was younger. And so I think that makes it easier. And self-paced is good. I kind of miss the classroom structure a little bit, not so much like being in class, but the like, oh, we're starting a syllabus in January and like by May, like we're gonna have learned everything that we needed to learn. Because when you do self-paced, it's kind of easy to be like, oh, like you did a bit here and you forget about it for 2 months and now you're back and you're like, oh, it's nice to have like consistent like work to be doing. So
Yeah, it sounds like you enjoyed that structure. And I also think like as people are going through like especially initial early years of your career, being able to identify the things that you like and that maybe are missing. It sounds like you again were craving that more like educational piece, and you were able to find that through specifically this course. So what drew you to UX design? Like where did that idea come from? Did you see something? Did you just stumble upon it and you're like, this looks cool? What
Mm.
originally drew you to it?
Okay, so when I was in school, I studied business. My
Hmm.
minor though was computing. And so in my computing classes, we would code, like we did websites, but it was like coding the website like from scratch, which was not fun. But we would it was not good.
I'm
But
having
we would do
flashbacks
that.
to the coding
Same.
class I took, and I'm like, oh my God, a semicolon is going to
No,
be the death of
no,
me.
literally. It's not anywhere close to like the things I do
Hmm.
now. It was not cute. But anyways, so those classes, and then I had a class like mobile app design, and so we had to like make like kind of build a mobile app, and part of it was the design part of it, which I always thought was fun. And while I was in school, you had to do like an internship, and I interned at this like the IT part of my school, and we have an app, like my school had an app, and so they were like, we kind of want to redesign the app a little bit, and they gave me that project to do. So that was the thing where I was like, oh, like I made an app, like, oh, this is so cool, like it was on like Adobe XD though, so it wasn't like an actual app, it was just like the design of one. But I was just like, oh, this is so cool. And then when I found out later after I graduated that Google had a UX design course, I was like, this is perfect. Like this is something I like to do. And it's funny though, because I was never like into art like as a kid. I was never into art or design or things like that. I just kind of like found me when I got older. So I was like, oh, like this is cool. Like I could do this. And then I realized people pay a lot of money for this. And I was like, oh, that's great. Let me see if I can combine the two things. And here we are. That's kind of how we got here.
Hmm.
Ooh, I love that. We'll get into branding a little bit because the world of branding, graphic design fascinates me because I'm
Hmm.
like, somebody who knows how to create an experience that is so desirable, but that people just throw money at it is such a special skill. Myself, I'm the one that's
Mm.
throwing money at it. But let's take it back to you. So you just wrapped up the program. You're working full time. Did you know that you were ready to start your business? And what was the journey like of those first initial months of either brewing on it,
Mm-hmm.
or or just jumping straight into it saying like I'm going to do this?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get PTSD. It was awful.
Oh
It was
no.
terrible.
Sorry,
I
I didn't mean to
hated it.
trigger you.
No, it was
It's a therapy
bad. It
session.
was after I finished that course, I found a girl online. Her name's Becca Luna, so shout out Becca Luna.
Oh
And
yeah.
she does web design courses. So I was like, oh, like okay, cool. So I took her course, and it was through her course that I found Show It, which is what I started. So this is like way, way, way back, like Terra Designs 1.0, when I started. And so I was like, okay. And she, in her courses, she kind of takes you through like, this is how to start a web design business. And she was like, can you get your domain? So I was like, okay, I got my domain. She was like, get your LLC. I was like, okay, I got that. And I started to go like through the things. And I would just spend time like just designing mock-up websites because I was like, no one's gonna hire me if they can't see what I can do. So I
Hmm.
would go to cafes, I would go anywhere, and I would just design like all day long, every Saturday, because those were my freest days, obviously, because I worked. So I was like, every Saturday I go to this cafe and I'd sit there for hours and hours and hours, and I design until like my eyes were crossed. And I got to a point I was like, okay, I was signing, and I was like, I need to design my own website too. And I felt terrible because I was like, because I sucked because I wasn't good at it because I was starting it. So I was like, oh, this looks bad, but like I have no choice. And it wasn't until I like set a day. I was like February 1st, 2024. Like no excuses. You are launching that day. Like you have to, or else this is never gonna go anywhere. And so I started my Instagram and I started like posting on my Instagram to nobody. And I was like, hey guys, like I'm here. I'm starting a little business. Here's my little design that I did. And it's funny though. I was looking back at my content from back then. I think I was better at content then than I am now. I think now that I have some sort of audience, I'm like, oh, like I have to make sure this is good, this and that. But back then, I was like, I couldn't care less. I was just
Hmm.
posting whatever I wanted, and it was great. It was. I wish I could reuse some of those videos. I was like, this is great content. I wish I had that mindset now, but it's hard. But yeah, and so I just kept practicing, making mock-ups, doing this, posting on Instagram, and then I launched, and I think I had 100 followers like day of my launch. That was like my goal, like 100. And then I was like, I now need clients, and so I I was like, I know how to find clients. And so I walked up to this random lady in a coffee shop one time and she was selling art. And I was like, do you want a website? She was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And so I designed her website. And my other client was my friend. And then after that, I went to Target and I was looking for candles, like homemade, not homemade, but what's it, soy candles, like perfectly soy, 100% soy candles. And I couldn't find one, so I went online and I went on Instagram and I found this girl who makes soy candles, and I was like, hey, and she was saying I'm on Etsy, and I was like, do you need a website? She was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, great, because I do websites, and I kind of just went on like that until I had like a couple of clients, and I was like, oh, that wasn't too hard. It was okay. And then yeah, that's how we got here. Truly, that's how it happened. It was just me shooting my shot a lot of times and hoping for the best. And
Yeah.
the best did happen because we're here now.
I was going to say, I'm sensing a theme of you shooting your shot. I love that you were just like, okay, I am grinding until 3 a.m. Oh my gosh, I still have to figure out how to turn on this
The
stupid
bubble.
emoji things. Oh, so
I
like,
was
I agree.
wondering.
Yay. It's like we're in a Zoom call and I'm like giving an announcement a thumbs up or something. But your theme of like shooting your shot, like you were saying, I'm staying up super late. I'm teaching myself how to do this essentially. I will never do it unless I set a date. I pick a date and set it, which Sarah and I are both project managers. So we very much resonate with selecting
Need
a
dates.
date and
Mhm.
a due date and getting things
Mm-hmm.
done. And I love your stories of just like, it sounds so organic the way the first couple of clients came your way. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that, again, you just kind of leaned into this opportunity is in front of me. And the only way I'm going to be able to be successful is if I take advantage of the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity and step up to the plate and go up to a random person in a coffee shop and pitch myself. Like, that's so
Mm-hmm.
awesome. One of our recent episodes, we were talking about our ins and outs for 2025. And one of our ins was like to always be advocating for
Yeah.
yourself. And it sounds like that was a key pillar for you in the success of your business. So tell us a little bit more about like, maybe 6 months into launch, you've had a couple of clients or however many months in that you've had a couple of clients, and you're starting to see success and you're starting to
Mm-hmm.
get busier and have things pick up. What was that time like? How did you I'm going to say try to balance between work and your business? What was that like?
I didn't. I really didn't.
Yep.
Wow. The reason why I say I'm getting like PTSD thinking about it is one of my ins and outs for 2025 is not like choosing my business over my health, because I did
Mm-hmm.
that last year. I was just like, if I just have to work, because I mean, you're at your job. I can't design websites while I'm like doing my job. So it's like,
Mhm.
it's funny though, because I feel like I deliver projects in the same time frame that like industry standard time frame or shorter. Like a lot of my projects were like a month or less, which a lot of brand designers, web designers take like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and they're doing this full time. So I was like, I can't take like 4 months. Like that's just, no one's gonna hire me for that. So it's like I have to get things done in a short amount of time. And so for a lot of last year, I chose my business over my health, and it was not good. I was stressed all the time. But it's good and bad though, because I feel like if I didn't do that, like if we're talking 6 months into launch, I did my first photo shoot for the very first time. I went to a pop-up and I got like my brother's monitor and like set up. It was a pop-up for like jewelry and clothes, and I was like, I'm just gonna go because why not? And I set up and I had business cards and I made like goodie bags to give to people, which I sold. Like I feel like I just and I raised my prices. I relaunched my website. Like I did so many things a little bit after I had launched, but I was just like in my like work mode. I was like, I want this to work. Now that I've had a few clients and I can see what this could be, I want it to work. But I didn't have any like restrictions or what are these things called? And
Boundaries.
boundaries. There was another word for it, but I can't remember it. Anyways, I didn't have any boundaries or restrictions or anything, and so which I do not recommend to anybody. Like I know that like when you're in your first couple of years of business, you feel like you have to be like on the grind and like doing a ton of things. I do not recommend choosing your business over your health and ever. ever, ever, ever. Even if it means $1 million, like just don't do it, because your body will hate you, and it'll hate you for a very, very long time, and it's just not good. So yeah, I didn't balance it at all. I'm still working on it.
Yeah. And it's
I'm
impossible. Oh, go ahead, Ellen.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sorry for pulling on the PTSD string, but it does sound like you learned a lot from it. And I think being able to reflect on it and know how to make changes and be different in the future will only benefit you. So sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm exactly that. I'm learning how to be better now. Now that I've gone through that phase. But you don't need to have that phase to have a good business. You don't need
Right.
to. You can have balance.
When you're coming up on a year, there's so much that you learn within a year span of anything. But I think what you're getting at is this idea of sustainability. And it's really difficult when you're really excited about something.
Yeah,
Because
it
especially when
is.
you start to see progress, right? So it's not just, oh, I'm doing these things and I'm not getting any work, or I'm not getting any clients, or I'm just not getting any joy or satisfaction from it. But when you get that, it almost becomes just this like fuel. And you have to decide how to like refuel and keep the energy going. Because you know the stat where they say a year in, if you've made it with your business, like you've kind of outpaced a certain percentage. Like a lot of businesses don't make it past that year mark. And I wonder if it's because of sales or lack of sales, rather, or if it's just, I can't manage this because I don't know how to make it sustainable so that I can give it the energy that it deserves. And so also that I can give the energy to other things outside of my business. Because if you want to pursue this, in most cases, people, when they start side hustles or these businesses outside of their 9 to 5s, they want to pursue it and they want to leave their 9 to 5s. And so if that's the case, it's creating this long-term plan. And in most cases, it's difficult because of social media nowadays. Nobody becomes successful overnight. Like the biggest, longest, most sustainable brands take time.
Yeah.
But when you get that itch kind of scratch and you're like, this is really fun, I'm sure it's very difficult in the moment to press pause and take a step back. So appreciate you giving us that insight, because I think sometimes we have to level set, especially nowadays in like the world of social media. It's like, no, these things take time.
They do.
So we hinted at it a little bit in your intro, but you had a really amazing project. And when we originally met, you didn't mention it, and then saw it on social, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I was like, how did you do it? And similar to the story that you shared before, you're like, I literally just sent a DM. So tell us the story, because I think that you were incredible at just pitching yourself and unapologetically just reaching out. So tell us how this one became a big win of your 2024.
Oh my days. This one was it all happened like really fast. I started this little content series on my Instagram called called the Tuesday Review, where I take a brand, like any brand, and I kind of go through I kind of like do a brand audit for that brand essentially. And I was following Lexi. I only started following her maybe a month or two or 3 months maybe before this. And I was like, this girl is so good at like building her brand in public. Like she shares everything. She talks about everything. Like this is so fun. So I was like, I was gonna do a video on her. And so I did one and I posted it to TikTok. I had 13 followers on TikTok. Like sometimes when I think about this story, I have to like actually think about the numbers here because I'm like, it doesn't actually make any sense. I had 13 followers on TikTok when I posted this, and it did not like blow up and get 1 million views. I think right now it's like under 2K, and at the time it was at like 400 views. Like it was not like some big blowout. But I posted it on TikTok and I posted it on my Instagram, and she saw it. And because in the video I was talking about like, oh, like I love her brand, I love how she builds in public, but like her website sucks, and like she should do, because it did. Like no offense to Lexi, she was doing her best, but it did. It was terrible. So I was like, you should fix this. And she commented and she was like, oh my gosh, like what should I fix? And I was like, what? Like you saw this? How did you see this? She was like, yeah, I saw it. And then it was so we went back and forth for a teensy bit on like the comment section. And then she she went on her Instagram story, and she was like, I'm looking for Shopify web designers. And I was like, why would she just ask for you anyways? So she put that on her story. So I immediately went to my laptop and she put her email there. So I was like, hi, like, this is the girl from TikTok. Here's some examples of my work. Would love to work with you. And I was like, oh, she's never going to see this email ever because so many people probably applied to work. But she emailed me back. She was like, oh my gosh, hi. Your work is so great. Like, let's work together. And I was like, okay, okay. And yeah, that's how it happened. That's it. It was just a lot of just doing things. You just never know where anything could lead. So there's no reason to just not do it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how it happened. And she had a really big launch. And after that launch, she hired me. And then we worked together for a couple weeks. And after that, she had another great launch and her business is doing amazing. And she was so great and so kind and so great to work with. So it was all just good. It was great.
It's a perfect example of like just always, again, advocate for yourself. You have no idea where a TikTok message or even just making a video on TikTok with a small amount of followers could potentially take you. I mean, what a cool story.
Yeah.
I love hearing how people, like, we've had stories of women who have, you know, pitched themselves over DMs and like Instagram DMs and landed themselves a full-time job or open doors for a brand new career for them. So I love stories like that. I think that is so incredible. And also I remember like chatting with you when we met at the Female Founder World, and you had brought your mom, which I was
I
like,
did.
I'm like,
I
was
love
like,
that. Also,
so
go mom. That's so
awesome.
Go
cool.
mom for real. She's the best.
Totally.
Yeah, truly.
Well, and then I was kind of like, ugh, I kind of wish I brought my mom. Like that would have been nice. You know, I had a little bit of FOMO there, but I get, oh my gosh, heavy microphone falling into me. Sorry. But again, I was like, I see your confidence and your ability to just kind of put maybe any like awkwardness, I guess is maybe the word, aside and just like go for it. Like you're just such a go-getter, and anyone listening immediately pause this and go follow Charis on Instagram because it is so much fun watching you. Like I am locked in. Like if I see that you've got a chain of stories, I am sitting down, I am turning it up, and I am listening and tuning in because you're just such a joy to listen to. And honestly, anyone could take a page out of your book. I think you're very inspiring the way that you operate. And it's so interesting to me as someone who found their niche in their career later in life versus it sounds like, I mean, literally what were you, 17, 18, 19 years old?
I'm
You
22
found
in a
it?
month.
Girl,
Get out of here.
happy early birthday also. But I mean, like it's truly inspiring, and you know, to have the foresight to know what you want, but also go after it and be good at it and make money at it. Girlfriend, you are winning. Like that is just so awesome. I want to talk about like branding and design because at a glance, like that is core to you. And it like everything that you touch, I swear it's so beautiful. And I love looking through all the work and websites that you've created. Like where do you find that inspiration? I know a lot of it sure has to come from the client and what their wants and aspirations are and what their design and project is, but how do you find creativity, especially as you're going through with a maybe 6-week turnaround time and having to find that creativity on that cycle?
It's so I really appreciate you saying all of that because I feel like I'm glad I come across that way because I remember that day. I remember that day being in that room and I brought my mom and I love my mom. But I was like, I came here to make connections and I am not talking to a single person. And I was genuinely so nervous. And I was like, but I spent all this money to come to New York and I leave tomorrow. If I leave this room and I have not talked to anybody, I wasted $1,000 on a flight to New York. Like that'd just be useless. So I was like, I need to do something. And you were just sitting in front of me, and I was like, oh, I like her dress. I'm just gonna tell her I like her dress and hope for the best.
It needs to be this intro.
Yeah, it really is.
I like her nail color, like any female.
No, it really
them a
is.
compliment.
If you're nervous to talk to people, you just have to compliment anything they're wearing or anything, and it'll work. It
works. It works. Yeah,
it does. But as far as design, Yeah, I appreciate you saying that because I also think I suck sometimes. I'm like, wow,
Oh
this
my
is
gosh.
ugly. I think it's just a lot of like, it truly it's just a lot of trying and going to sleep and taking a snack and and looking at it again the next day and be like, oh, what could I tweak here? What could I make this better? Um, how can this be cooler? How can this be more of what I'm trying to reach? It's a lot of looking at others, looking at inspiration, looking in nature for inspiration, looking at architecture, looking at other people's designs. I draw a lot from other people's designs as well because I'm just like, there's so many incredible designers who have been in this field for 15 years. Like they just know certain principles. I'm like, oh, I don't know because I'm really self-taught. So I'm like, just like learning as you go. I took another course, which I haven't finished, but I'm getting there, on brand design, like fully on brand design, web design. And she taught like the color theories and hierarchy and kind of all those things because it's just a lot of, there's a lot of principles behind it. Um, and then also understanding like that it's okay. Like my whole thing for this whole business and like my life, I feel like my motto these days is like, it's okay to be bad at something if you're new at it. Like it's okay to not be perfect at something when you're starting. And like kind of what we were talking about, like building a brand doesn't come in a day. Building Rome didn't come in a day. Building a business does not come in a day. Like you have to just take your time and allow yourself to evolve. My website that I have up right now, this is probably since I started my business, like the 10th website that I have had up. And I'm still gonna change it. Like after that, like I have things I need to change on there. Like it's never a, when it comes to design, especially because it's like you're creating something out of literally nothing. Like you're looking at a blank page and you're trying to make something. So it's not always that like, oh, you have all these infinite thoughts in your head and all this infinite creativity floating around. Sometimes it's just like starting somewhere, looking at what you have, getting away from it, coming back and being like, okay, what can I change? How can I enhance? How can I take away? Like, and then sometimes just having to know when it's done and just put it out there and hope people like it. Like me and Lexi were still making edits on her website like a week before we launched it. Like it was not like a, oh, like this is it and it's done and it's perfect and I didn't touch it after that. Like continuously making changes and making edits. So yeah, if you're feeling stuck and uncreative, I just encourage you to go outside and take a snack and then come back and you'll probably feel a lot more creative after that.
Take a snack. That is fun. That's not just like, oh, take a minute, take a break. It's like, no, take a snack. I
You
love
need to
the
eat.
visual that it provides.
Mhm.
Being a creative project manager, I am not creative in the slightest. My job is very black and white in most cases. But working with creators, I'm just like, how did how did you how did you make this? So I just want to say that you are incredible at what you do. I think that the learning lessons that you're providing of just, it's just iterations, and that's all you
Mm-hmm.
have to be okay with, is this idea of evolution. What I put
Mm-hmm.
out tomorrow is not what will exist on my website in 6 months from now, 9 months from
Mm-hmm.
now, 12 months from now. And that is so reflective of just life. You just have to be okay with constantly. I mean, if you just look at yourself, you're like, who I was a year ago is not the same
Yeah.
person. Like
Yeah.
this constant state of growth. And it's only emphasized because you're running the ship, it's your business. So take
Yeah.
us through 2025. You mentioned that you had some ins and
Oh,
outs. What are things that you're really
yes.
looking forward to? Maybe bringing in some more balance. What's on
Yes.
your radar for this year?
Yes, definitely more balance. Definitely like I said, business does not come before health. It does not come before relationships. Like it's important. It's a very large priority, but it's not the priority. Like my relationship with myself, my relationship with God, my relationship with my family, like those are my priorities. My health, my wellness, like those are my priorities. But overthinking is out. I'm done with it. But strategicness, that's not a word, strategically planning, I guess, that is in, that is 100% in. I went through last year and I think that's also why I could be, part of it's why I think I was so happy with how I went last year because I set no goals at
Mm.
all. I when I started this business, I really didn't think I'd get any clients at all. I just thought this would be a cute little project that I would do, and if I made $1,000, like thank the Lord, you know what I mean? Like that's great. And it didn't. It kept going. I was like, oh, this is lovely. So I just kind of kept going, and I didn't set any goals. I was like, let me just see if this is even something. this year we are strategically planning. I've got some goals. I've got some income goals. I've got client goals, which is also hard because it's taken away the kind of like, oh, like, okay, if I don't have clients right now, like, it doesn't matter. But now it's kind of like, I don't have clients right now, and I have a goal that it is not being reached. Like, what do I do? But it's okay. We're only in 20 days into the year, so I'm not gonna give myself
You've
too
got
much
time.
slack. I've got
Plenty.
time. But what else is in? Planning is in, working out is in, eating good is in, feeling your body the right way is in, creativity from not like doom scrolling on Canva or on Adobe Illustrator or whatever it is, like is out. Creativity from looking at other sources is in, doing more things like this, like experiences that I just would not have done in any other world is 100% in, just saying yes to things, but also knowing what to say. Like something I said no to was to work with this really amazing agency, but it was a type of work that I didn't really do. And she offered it to me twice. And the second time I was the first time I was like, no, I'm okay. The second time I was like, wait, I don't want her to like not think of me again. Like I had like a really big battle. I was like, should I just do it? But I was like, wait, this is not my brand. This is not what I do. And even though it'd be an amazing opportunity, it's just not what I do and not what I want to be doing. And so being okay with saying no is in. Being polite and kind is always in. Overworking is out. Lots of things are out. Anything that's bad that you did in your first year of business, just out next year. Anything that
Get it
caused
out
you
of here.
stress the first year, just out the next year. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those are my ins and outs. That's what I'm looking forward to. Lots, you guys will see me a lot popping up on your feeds, or I don't know what's happening with all this TikTok. But I don't know what's going on. But
We'll see
whatever
you
social
somewhere.
platform that we're on, might just have to get on YouTube. I don't know. I have a YouTube channel and
That might
start
be the
posting
move.
some reels. It just might be because I don't know what's going on. So we'll
Mhm.
see.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing those. I like goals is always something. I loved your perspective on goal setting, especially for your first year of business without setting any and just letting yourself create and do and see where it led you. And then kind of taking that information, what you learned, and implementing it for the next year. I think that's really smart. And we are very excited to see where all of your exciting ins and outs take you for this year.
Thank
So
you.
I'm going to ask you the big question, Charis.
Okay.
How do you define success for yourself?
Oh my gosh. Oh. Okay. Success to me is freedom. It really is. Success to me is time freedom, it's financial freedom. It's and it's not tied to like a specific amount of money or time necessarily. It's not like, oh, I have $1 million and I'm successful and I can do and buy whatever I want. But it's more so of like I'm just living the life that I want to live and I'm doing it without stress for money or stress for time, and I'm doing it doing something that I enjoy. That is success to me, and it's sustainable. I can do this for a long time. It can evolve, it can grow into something bigger. I can support myself, my future family, my current family. Like, that is success to me. It's not tied to an amount of money. It's tied to a lifestyle, and it's just the life that I want to live, which I don't really know what that is because I'm but a girl. I'm a 21-year-old, so I don't really
Seriously.
know what that is just yet. But I feel like I'll know when I get there, I know when I get there.
Yeah.
So
I feel like freedom comes with a very like intrinsical feeling. Like you
Yeah.
you know when you're there, and you
mhm.
know that it'll again always change, but it sounds like you have an incredible head on your shoulders and you're going to make the world for yourself. So,
Thank
thank you
you. I
for
hope
that.
so.
We are going to head into rapid fire questions. Karis, what is
Nice.
one thing that you have to make it through the workday?
Water. Yeah.
Easy.
Basic girl. I love that
Water.
one.
Lip
Hydrated.
gloss. Lip gloss. Earphones.
Mm.
Sorry. Now that I'm thinking about it, more than water. Lip gloss and earphones. If I don't have earphones, I simply won't make it. I've gone home to get my earphones before, like on my lunch break, because I
Oh,
couldn't do it. Yeah, earphones for sure.
Oh my God, that's so funny. What is your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Reality TV. Netflix dating
Ooh.
shows, K-drama, K-pop. Those are my ways.
Always.
Eating.
Your workplace pet peeve.
Oh, this is rapid fire. Oh, when people expect me to do things that are not my job, like leave me alone. I'm a team
Love it.
player. Don't get me wrong. I am a team player. But if
Mm-hmm.
something is specifically your job and you want it to become my job because you just don't want to do your job, no, thank
Don't
you.
ask. No, thank
Don't
you.
ask. But I
Boundaries.
am a team player though. If it's a
Mhm.
team effort, I'm happy to do it. But if it's not a team effort, leave me alone.
Respect it.
All right. Last one is, what is the best benefit you've ever had from a job?
Oh, the job that I work in now, we get from the 20th of December off for Christmas. So
Oh,
from
that's
20th of
so
December
nice.
until Jan 2. So almost 2 weeks off for Christmas.
Oh, that's
That is a
beautiful.
great benefit.
That is
Yeah.
beautiful. What a great adjective, Sarah.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Yeah, like it actually allows you to separate, not to take PTO.
Mhm.
Also, too, knowing that other people are not working, such a stress relief because you
Yeah.
don't have
Mhm.
FOMO and the
Yeah.
kind of workplace
Mhm.
FOMO. So I respect that, and
Yes.
I love that your company allows that.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, Karis, for taking us through your journey.
Oh,
I feel like
thank
inspired to just
you.
like go do things unapologetically and just like
Yes,
see what
go.
happens because I feel like that's such a positive manifestation way of going about your life where it's like, well, I don't care what, like, it's either going to be, this is a Michael thing, my husband, it's either going to be a good time or a good story. So, you might as well just
Yeah,
like
for real.
go for it. And if you don't get it, what's the worst that can happen? You're just going to
No, for
try
real.
again.
That is my
Grittiness. That is
motto.
the word. I love people that have grit and I find it so inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you.
Um, we are going to include all the places that you can find Karis, her website,
Yay.
social media, everywhere. You're going to be able to follow along because 2025 is going to be a big year.
Oh,
Thank
I
you
hope
so much
so.
for joining us. It's been an
Thank
absolute pleasure.
you.
Yes,
Thank you
of
guys
course.
so much.
Of course. All right, everybody, enjoy your Monday. Have a wonderful week. And
Yes.
remember, it's literally just a job. We'll see you.
It's just a job. Bye.